Hello?
Mr. Scully, is that you?
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Everything's good.
This is Rabble Rousing Rich. We got Tony the Potato. We have a...
Yeah. We're going on now?
Yeah. We got a new guy.
Okay.
Psychic.
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay.
How about you? Yeah, that's loud and clear. What have you been up to? We talked a little bit earlier about what we got going on in December.
Yeah, basically that's been my main focus right now. It's just been training, getting these guys organized for this reunion I'm doing in Las Vegas.
All right. Tell us a bit about that. I know you put out some names in your press release about who's going to be there, but where did the idea all come about in the first place?
Well, it's been for quite a while, several years anyway. I've been in touch with a lot of boxers. I'm the type, ever since I was an amateur, I've always kept in touch with guys I fought and guys I was amateur with. And, whenever I go to different cities, I'll always think of who I knew from the amateurs there, and I'll look them up. So after a while, I was like, man, every once in a while I'll get like 3 or 4 of us together, and it would be really fun. And I said, imagine if I could get all of us together from the old days. And so I was getting ready to go. I'm going to Las Vegas anyway because I'm actually a host of a WBC dinner that Mia St. John is doing to honor Tommy Hearns at the Mirage that week of the WBC convention. So I let some of my guys know that I was going to be out there and we should get together. And then it just kind of steamrolled, and so I just put it out there. I just told everybody. I said, look, we're going to be in Vegas, me and Kevin Kelly and Bones Adams and a few guys. If you want to come and meet us, let's hang out. And before I knew it, I was getting calls from Canada and, just all over the country. All these guys wanting to come in.
Awesome. And it's going to be at the Rival Boxing Gear Store, Sunset.
Yes, it's on Sunset, right alongside the runway at the airport.
Oh, there you go.
So right off the strip.
You don't have to take a taxi that far. Go right through.
Yeah, no, it's close. It's real close. The airport is literally right across the street.
Awesome. So what's the plan? I mean, you guys just going to sit down and talk and shoot shit, or are you going to have...
Yeah, I'll tell you what it's going to be like. See, I'm just going to let it kind of flow because, as an example, I sent it in the press release. I don't know if you got this one, but about Mark Too Sharp Johnson. Did you get that one?
I checked the email in the last hour.
Well, basically, Mark Too Sharp Johnson's in the Hall of Fame. I have another friend of mine from Canada, Mark Simmons, who's actually a heavyweight who fought Felix Savon in the World Championships, and he went to the Olympics in 2000 for Canada. He's fought, all the big names, like DeVarrell Williamson, Lamont Brewster, all those guys. As it turns out, when he was about 9 years old, he fought Mark Too Sharp Johnson in Canada at 60 pounds, little kids. Well, him and Too Sharp are both going to be at this reunion. They haven't seen each other literally in 31 years since they were little kids fighting each other. So they're going to meet each other. And I'm actually going to meet a kid who I talked to on the phone the other day, who I actually fought at the national championships in 1988, and I haven't seen him since. And I've actually never spoken to him in person other than the day we fought. So it's going to be that type of thing where people are just going to be reconnecting, and it's going to take a life of its own. I don't even need to have a curriculum. It's just going to take a life of its own once we all get together.
And that's one thing that I think is great too. Is you were talking about one thing that you really enjoy doing, and I love reading your posts on Facebook because a lot of the stuff it's always serious, but a lot of the stuff lighthearted too. And what you're saying there is, talking to people that you fought, and you meeting them, the fighting days, is that because of you, I'm on this show, because you were sharing an article that Rich wrote about you so many years ago, and
well, let me just say one thing. Let me just interrupt 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. I'm not hearing you that good. The connection that I have with you is not that good. You sound kind of muffled.
Can you hear me now? I'm off speaker.
Yeah, that's much better. Much better.
So okay, I was charging my phone, so that's why I had it on speaker. But no, when you were saying about reconnecting with guys in the amateurs, I mean, that's one thing that I really always loved about the sport, and and that's why I enjoy reading a lot of the stuff that you put out there on Facebook. A lot of it's lighthearted, but a lot of it's serious, and we have some good laughs on there.
Right.
Because of you is how I got on this show. You sharing an article that you would always send to me and some other to other guys on your network about boxing and articles, and when I saw the name Rich Bergeron on there, I'm like, I think I was supposed to fight him in the Nationals one year. And
right.
you were going to fight me? I'm like, yeah, you fought so-and-so, and I fought this guy. And we started talking. I'm like, oh, yeah, remember this guy? This guy, oh, he rabbit punched a lot. And this guy, he was an octopus. He held a lot. And it just was a lot of laughs. That's one thing I think is great about the sport that no other sport is like. Because just with the hand-to-hand combat and how there's you fight a guy, you fight him hard, you try to knock his head off when you're in there, but you develop a bond outside of it. And
right.
sometimes you bump into a guy that says, man, I haven't seen you in 20-some years. Boy, remember that time we got in there? You busted me in the mouth, and I got you with this one? That's a great thing about the sport. That's what I think puts boxing head and shoulders above everything else.
Oh, sure. And let me tell you, what's going to be cool is, Mark is out. Mark is a Hall of Famer now. Mark Sharp in the Hall of Fame. He's a major fighter. And Mark Simmons is just a happy-go-lucky guy. But the funny thing is, Mark Simmons is like 6'4", and he's like 230. He's a monster. And Too Sharp is a little, Too Sharp's like 5'4". He never fought above 115 pounds. So when you see these two guys together, it's going to look like a little kid next to a giant. And the little kid beat the giant when they were little kids, So it's just going to be funny. So, and we could talk about it, but I'm having, I actually talked to Donald Curry last night. He's trying to get a flight out. He's working on it as we speak. So, I've got some good names. I'm working on getting Milt McCrory to come out. I've got Paul Gonzalez, who was the outstanding boxer at the 1984 Olympics, the same Olympics that Tyrell Biggs and Mark Breland and Pernell Whitaker all won gold medals at. Paul Gonzalez was the boxer of that Olympics. So he'll be there. And I'm looking at Lamont Brewster. Ray Oliveira actually just booked his flight yesterday. He'll be out there. Darrell Williamson, Bones Adams. I mean, I've got a pretty. I talked to Kerry Norris last night. Kerry's trying to make time to get out there. So, I've got a nice little group of people heading out there.
My favorite Mark Too Sharp Johnson memory was I think it was when he was champ at 112 pounds, and he just defended his title. He was all there doing the post-fight interview. And I forget if he was trying to call out. I forget if it was Michael Carbajal or Humberto Gonzalez. Whoever it was the champ at 108. And he said, it's time for you to step up with the big boys. And my dad was watching it and he goes, did he just say step up with the big boys? He's 112 pounds.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny for Mark is pretty, even now, even all these years later, I mean, he's still pretty small. I just was out with him in Las Vegas in September, and he hasn't grown much, Yeah. That's funny. But yeah, so he actually just booked his flight yesterday. So, I've got Kelsey Banks. Kelsey already lives out in Vegas, so he's coming. Actually, I just talked to Shannon Briggs 2 nights ago. I think he's going to make it. So overall, I mean, we got a really special weekend planned.
I guess Klitschko isn't invited.
No, he's not coming. Shannon's a genius, though. He's a genius. He's going to get that fight. So.
Yeah. I mean, when you take a man's breakfast, now you're throwing down the gauntlet.
Yeah. You can't mess with once you mess with the food, it's on.
Great clip. If it was semi-stage. Oh, man. That was balls. see that, there's no bodyguards really getting. Klitschko's just goes out there. Doesn't really have a bunch of people protecting him. But when you're that tall, I guess, and you got hands like that, I guess you don't. Anyway, tell us a little bit more about the Tommy Hearns thing. What is this all about? And also, I guess Jose Sulaiman's going to be part
of it. Well, the WBC convention is that week, and Mia St. John, who is a former WBC champion, she has a foundation, and she does a dinner every year, and so she asked me to be a part of it. I'm kind of like a host, I guess. We should say that. And so Tommy Hearns and Mauricio Sulaiman are the honorees this year. So it's on the Tuesday night, the Saturday after my event. And so the WBC convention starts Monday. Her dinner is Tuesday night at the Mirage. And as of right now, the main guest to present Tommy is going to be Sugar Ray Leonard. So I'm actually hoping Ray comes to my event also, but he will definitely be there at the dinner to present Tommy. And they're expecting all the champions to come, and there should be a star-studded night on that Tuesday.
Awesome. And how often do you end up going to Vegas every year? Is this like a regular thing? You go out there?
I've been out there. We like when Chad trained for the Andre Ward fight, we actually trained there for 9 weeks. I was in Las Vegas in 2012. So I've been going out there since my first time was for a fight in 1989. And I have a lot of friends. I have several friends in the boxing game that actually live there. And my friend Russ just opened his store actually in September. I was out there for the grand opening. That's where we're going to have our reunion at the Rival Boxing Store on Sunset. So I've been lucky just at different events and for different reasons I've been able to get out there, and it's definitely one of my favorite spots.
Yeah, I lived out there for a little while. The number one thing, being from the East Coast, I liked more than any other thing. I'm sure you can probably relate. No mosquitoes. Gotta love that.
Right. Oh yeah. No, Vegas, the weather's great. Even in July and August when it's boiling hot. I remember when I was a kid, my father told me you could drop an egg on the ground in Las Vegas and you could fry the egg right on the concrete. And last time I was there in the summer, I thought about it. I was actually on the roof of Caesar's Palace on the parking garage roof, and it was a fact. Like the ground was literally so hot you could fry an egg on there no problem. And but yeah, the mosquitoes, no mosquitoes. The weather's great pretty much year round, and you can't really beat Las Vegas if you're even without the Strip. Like when I first went out there in '89, it was all about the Strip basically. Now you could go to Las Vegas and hang out for a month and never go to the Strip. You wouldn't even have to go to the Strip. There's so much to do out there that the Strip is just one thing that you'd miss compared to all the other things there is to do.
One thing I was really amused by is you could find any fast food restaurant out there that you never heard of. Ever.
Oh yeah, every restaurant. Like I say, I could take a person out there outside of Las Vegas, like literally 1 mile away from the Strip, and drop them off, and didn't tell them where they were. You blindfolded them, you brought them out there, and you say, where are we? It could be anything. It could be Chicago, it could be Los Angeles, it could be anywhere. I mean, there's everywhere you look. There's just it's built up. It's you've got the Walmarts, you got the Taco Bells, you got the nothing to do with Las Vegas. Just it's a totally different world. I know people that live out there. They've been out there 3, 4, 5 years, and they said they've never been to the Strip. They went there when they first got there, and they checked it out, and that was it. They never even go to the Strip. So it's definitely a big city now. Like when I was there first, out by the mountains there, out by Red Rock, it was all just desert. It was empty, and now you can literally drive 40 minutes outside of Las Vegas and still be in a residential area. You can still be where it's built up. I guess they're just going to keep going until they get to the base of the mountain, and they're going to fill in that whole desert.
Yeah.
I told my dad a few months ago. I told him I want to take him to to a fight in Vegas. Now, maybe this year, his birthday's in May, maybe I'll arrange that if we're having a big fight or around that time. Last April was my first trip out there, and originally I wasn't going to go. A couple of college roommates of mine, these are guys who were roommates I was fighting in the amateurs, and they used to come to a lot of my fights, and they kept saying, hey, we're having a reunion out there in April, you have to go. And I'm like, guys, I'm at a new job, I'm taking days off in March. I don't know if they're going to be cool with me taking days off in April. Well, how many days take over March? 2. We're taking 2 in April. They're making a long weekend. You got to come. I don't know. I'm really not settled here yet. I really haven't made a lot of money there yet. You got to come. And then January, they're like, we got tickets to the Manny Pacquiao fight. I said, when's the flight leave? And I said, first of all, I'm working on my preview article for his fight this weekend, and I got to get back on the right side after I blew that Hopkins fight a few weeks ago. But I said, you got to respect the guy that walks to the ring with a Katy Perry song playing.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But,
did you see the new commercial? Did you see the commercial with Pac-Man that just came out?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't.
Man, he's in the ring working with a trainer, and these 2 guys are outside the ring, and they're by the heavy bag, and they're talking about some kind of event that's going on, or a sandwich at a restaurant. I don't know what it is, but one of them says, "Man, well the people asked for it, and now we're getting it." And Pacquiao overhears that, and he goes, "The people asked for it, and we're getting it? You mean he's going to fight me? He's going to fight me? I can't believe he's going to fight me." And Pacquiao starts jumping around, and he's shadow boxing. He's going, yes. And one of the guys says to the other one, he goes, "Are you going to tell him?" And he goes, "I'm not telling him." and they
great.
Pacquiao believe, it's funny. You got to look it up on YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's hilarious.
Oh, definitely. That's hilarious.
It just came out like 2 days ago. It just came out. And, it's hilarious. Like Pacquiao's like a little kid. He's going to fight me. He said he's going to fight me. He's going to fight me. And he starts jumping up and down and shadow boxing, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not telling him. You tell him. I'm not telling him." Yeah, you got to watch it, sure.
I the one thing that I said, and I think you and I have discussed this before, and just reminds me, because the one event we're going to be at in a month or a few weeks from now, is, I go back 30 years, a little bit more than 30 years now, and who were the 2 big welterweights at the time. And they both had a lot to lose, and they both had a lot to gain, and they were willing to both step in there and, risk that. And that being, of course, Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard, 2 Hall of Fame legend fighters that, you're right, there was a big risk and a big reward. And I just think right now that, and maybe it's Mayweather that is not willing to take the risk because he can control so much, and I don't know if he wants to give up any of his control. Like, when these guys fight him, it's like they're going basically to Las Vegas, and no matter they win or they lose, they basically already won their gamble because they're walking out of there, at no less than 7 or 8 figures.
Right.
And I mean,
boxing's a business, and he's the lottery ticket. You get a fight with him. Even like you have the comfort to say to yourself, even if I lose, I'm getting $6 million. I'm getting $4 million. So and believe me, when they're in training, they're careful. They're saying, look, I don't want to get cut. I don't want to get injured. If this guy, my sparring partner, starts getting rough, tell him to chill out a little bit. I mean, I can't afford a pulled arm here. We're talking $5-6 million here. And, you're a lottery winner. And, but by the same, and here's my thing that I was just thinking about it the other day. The Ricky Hatton Pacquiao fight was, how long, do you remember was that 2007?
No, that was 2009. Mayweather knocked Hatton out in the end of 2007. And then Hatton went and started training with Floyd Sr., beat Pauline Malignaggi, and then he got the fight, and it was early 2009, maybe May-ish, April or May, when Pacquiao knocked him out.
Okay, so here's my point. Now, say you had 2 guys, because that was when it was the Mayweather Pacquiao. That's when it was at its peak. It's like, man, he knocked out Hatton. Crazy. So imagine if in 1979, early 1979, there was a huge fight, whatever it was. Leonard and Duran maybe were talking about it, and then they fought in 80. But say they started talking about it in early 79, and then here it is going into 1985, and they still haven't fought each other yet. That's what we're dealing with now. It's just bizarre to me that these guys haven't fought. It's one of the craziest things probably in boxing history that these two have not jumped all over that payday. It's crazy.
When I started my new job last July, and they had a thing where, like, you would meet a new employee, and then they would introduce you to the group of people, and you would introduce them. So the girl that I met, who was still a friend of mine, she got up and she said, how I'm into boxing, and I do the radio show, and how I train people and work out with people in my spare time. So we were having lunch that day. I met up with these two other gentlemen, and the first thing the one kid said to me, he goes, "Oh, so you're into boxing, you really follow it?" And his first two questions were, does Canelo have a shot against Mayweather when they were going to fight last September? And I said, I don't think so. I said, I just think his style is too made for Floyd. And the second question was, would Floyd and Manny ever fight? And I said, I don't think that Floyd's willing to, not give up enough control to let that fight happen. I mean, it's going to get to the point someone made a joke about it saying, he's going to sign the fight, but Manny's got to wear, like, ankle weights on his ring, and he's got to wear a 34-ounce gloves, and tie his left hand behind his back.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's to be honest with you, if they fought, I'd probably watch it out of curiosity, but I wouldn't pay for it. Like, I'll watch it if my friend has it, or if they're showing it at Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever.
Right.
Like right now, if they don't fight, I honestly wouldn't care. I wouldn't care in the least bit if they don't fight. Ever. If they never meet up in the ring, it doesn't matter to me. I lost in just literally, like, probably more than 2 years ago. I can honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
That. Yeah.
We right after Pacquiao pretty much brutalized Miguel Cotto, and that's once again about 5 years ago. After he brutalized Cotto, a couple days later, we had Al Bernstein, or a week or so later, we had Al Bernstein on our air. And Floyd was coming back after his layoff. He had like one fight at the time, and Pacquiao was red hot. And that was like, the interest was so high at that time. It was like unbelievable. And the balance of power was shifting towards Pacquiao. Because Mayweather had a few fights, and he was like, they were okay. They weren't, just scintillating. They weren't electric. And Pacquiao was looking electric. And I just know so many people were shifting towards the Manny freight train. But then I saw something in a few of his fights against Clottey and against Margarito, where he was starting to say, I don't want to hurt these guys anymore. Like when he had Cotto hurt, he finished them, and it was brutal. But when he had Margarito in the same, position, he pulled off. And I think
the same thing with Rios, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now, against Bradley, because I think he was pissed about that first decision, when I was there, he was going out pretty strong, even in the 12th round.
Yeah.
But what I also saw, Manny, I think what really got in his mind a little bit was when he had Marquez hurt in that fourth fight, because I even read some very respected people that said if Marquez didn't land that knockout punch in the 6th round, that there was a chance he might have not come out for the 7th, because he was starting to get beat up pretty good in there. Now, I don't think that's true. I think Marquez is a warrior. He would have been out there. But that fight was really Pacquiao's favor until that punch landed.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that, and people forget that. That's kind of the beauty and the curse of the knockout like that. The impressive knockout is that's all that people remember. Even myself, when I think of that fight, I just go right to the knockout. I don't think of how the fight. It's crazy. But that's the beauty of it in the sense of if you're a big puncher, it's not over till it's over, and you can erase everything that happened. Because you could think of almost every great knockout in history, And nobody either knows or cares who was winning up to that point. They just want to remember and relish and talk about that huge punch.
And remember, an event that you and I and Rich were at a few years ago, for 12 rounds and 1 minute, Jersey Joe Walcott was beating Rocky Marciano.
Right. Oh, not only the best one, to me, the best example, if you ever want to talk about this subject, there's one fight in history, John Tate and Mike Weaver.
Yep.
I mean,
the 45 seconds to go in the last round?
The heavyweight champion of the world. He's whitewashing this guy. Like, the fight is all but over. Like, he's won every round almost. It's a done deal. And the clock is, like, that's the closest thing you'll probably find. Other than Corrales and Castillo, that's probably the closest thing to a Rocky movie you could find. Is this guy winning the heavyweight championship of the world, like, with, 20 seconds to go in the 15th and final round. He's way behind. There's no chance he can win. And he knocks him out unconscious. That was that's got to be, to me, one of the greatest sports moments of all time.
To change the subject a little bit, just because you brought his name up, you had posted the photos from Corrales' gravesite recently. Was you?
Wait a minute, say that again?
Was that you that posted the photos from Corrales' gravesite?
Oh, yeah, when I went to his grave in Las Vegas. Yeah, that was me, yeah.
Yeah, I saw them. I mean, that's what you said. You said, like, that was nice. The way they really did his gravesite.
Oh man, it was the cool thing, and everybody knows me. Like, I don't drink alcohol. I'm not an alcohol guy by any stretch of the imagination. But I get there, and I know how Corrales is. And he's there. I get to the gravesite, and it's in a beautiful cemetery in Las Vegas. It's right by this little pond. The pond is literally a couple feet away. All the grave sites in his immediate little circle there are very, very nice. His is spectacular. And one of his friends, I assume, left a full bottle of Corona on top of it. If you look at the picture, you can see it almost looks like part of the grave, but it's actually a bottle of beer that one of his buddies left for him, which I thought was kind of cool, But when I was out there, I actually go to Chico's grave and I go to Sonny Liston's grave when I'm in Las Vegas.
Nice. And that's why I always bring up, especially when we talk to you on the show, is because of your knowledge of boxing history and the fraternal aspect of the sport.
Right.
And I was going to also ask you, how's the book coming along?
Actually, really good. I'm just, I'm basically trying to find an editor. Like, I'm at the stage where I need someone to edit it. Like, I'm trying to edit it myself, but they always say, I've always been given the advice by dozens of different people, never edit a book by yourself. Like, it's not a good idea to do your own editing. And
right.
So I'm gonna take their word for it, and I'm trying to find something. But what I need them to do is, I don't want them to alter the content at all. Because the thing is, my book is different. Like, my book is written like I talk. Like it's totally in my words. Where I hate, I might have mentioned this to you before, but when I read a book by a guy and I know after one page that he didn't write it, I know he didn't. I know it was edited and somebody else wrote it for him. And I don't want that. I want people to get my words. So anything you read in my book is my words, that's it. I just need grammar and periods and commas. I'm terrible with the commas. Apparently there's a lot of places for commas to go that I don't think they should go, but I'm told they belong there. So I'm trying to find a very, very qualified and reasonable person to edit it for me. And I'm trying to look at printers and see. I'm actually talking to a few friends of mine who publish books, and I'm trying to get the right. You got to make deals with people. You got to find out, because they as I'm learning, they try to really cut you. They really try to take a lot of the money and from your profits. And the problem is, normally I could see that, but I've done all the legwork myself for all these years. I've built up my clientele, I guess you would say, my audience. And so I don't want to give somebody a cut of that when they had nothing to do with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm just looking for somebody to edit the thing, and I need the right person to do it. And because you get certain people and they want to edit it, and they're telling you how it should be, like how proper English should be, but nobody talks in proper English. I think the world would be wouldn't be a good place. It wouldn't be good if everybody talked in proper English. It would be the most boring place on earth. So I need someone to see my vision, I guess you could say.
I had that problem with my editors at a newspaper up here in New Hampshire, because I kept putting in quotes when people say gonna and gotta.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
I'm writing two. You know, it doesn't sound right when you're quoting someone. If they say gonna, I'm going to put gonna in.
Exactly.
Right. Well, you know what? I did an interview. I still have it. I was 16 years old, and I did an interview with a local paper in Connecticut, and I read this thing, and this guy literally changed the things I said to make it sound, I guess, like he thought I should sound, and he's quoting me, saying things that I would never in a million years say. I would never say these things. And I'm reading it, and even to this day, sometimes I look back on it and I go, as a 16-year-old, what 16-year-old would say this kind of stuff? So that's why, again, I edit everything. One thing about me, if you read anything by me, it's my words, because I don't let them edit things. I just let them edit for grammar if they have to, but not the content, because there's nothing worse than reading a book by a guy and he didn't write it. That's just irritating to me.
You know whose books I enjoyed, and I read all 4 of them, because, he came out there and said that he was writing his books, he tried to use a ghostwriter, and it sounded ridiculous, was Mick Foley, the professional wrestler. His first book came out in 99, and he said he tried it with a ghostwriter, and he fired the guy after 2 days. And he said, you know what? And he goes, I'm a creative guy. I'm funny. I have a good way of writing. He goes, let me write just a chapter. And he wrote a chapter, and they're like, we'll keep it in. And he said, his thing, the same thing with you. He goes, he needed an editor, and I think his exact words were the commas, semicolons. He goes, I don't know a semicolon for my regular colon. And the whatchamabobit and the do-a-hippies. He goes, all I need is just to put them in place, and that's all.
Right. I've actually heard, and I actually talked to Al Bernstein. I heard he wrote his own book also. As I asked him, somebody told me he did, and I asked him if he did, and he said he did. Yeah, he said he wrote his own book. So he's one of the few, because like I say, I love Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, but I've read their books, and I don't need anyone to say, well, when you see the cover of a book and it says, by Muhammad Ali, and underneath it says, with Dave Anderson, that basically means Dave Anderson wrote it, you know what I mean? And, you're not going to see that with me. I mean, that's just, I want to hear what the real guy had to say,
And another thing I remember Mick writing in one of his books was when he was using his ghostwriter, they met for an afternoon, just over lunch, riding in the car together. Guy had a tape recorder. Tell me about your life. That's like you telling me about your life. Now, you can tell me with all the passion in the world about some of your fights and things that you felt in the dressing room, and I can put there and say, I was in the dressing room and I was nervous. I couldn't wait to get out there. I was going to get it. I was ready to fight. You could tell that's not authentic. And not to be said, he goes, the guy was a 70-something-year-old man. I was a 30-something-year-old man, and you could tell there was a generational gap, and there was a gap in our lifestyles and everything. Just because he knew how to write doesn't mean he could tell my story. That's the exact same thing.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree with you 100%. That's like I said. Muhammad Ali's book, which is actually one of the books. There was 3 books I read as a kid that got me really hooked on boxing. Was Muhammad Ali's autobiography, Sugar Ray Robinson's autobiography, and Willie Puck's autobiography. And I read Ali's, and I believe Ali had a lot of input, but there's just certain words he used that I know he didn't use. And then as I got older, I realized that on the front cover you can see that it had, it has the ghostwriter's name, and so you get the information, but I want to read something that I know. I don't want you in a book saying something that I know you would never say in real life. I know you don't talk like that. That's very obvious, especially people that are big fans of the subject. They know the person wouldn't talk like that, so it's not real to them.
Switching gears a little bit, I know you're doing a little training. We actually kept thinking about getting you on the show because we have guests and all of a sudden you didn't. The recent one was Francisco Palacio. Sticking some phrases, talking about how genius you were and how it was working with you, and then you told me it's moved on, moved out of the area.
Right. Well, you're breaking up a little bit, but I got the gist of it. But yeah, Francisco and I actually had a great fight together last month. He looked very good in his fight. He was very comfortable. I felt like we had a great relationship. Everything in the corner was very smooth. But he has some issues that he needs to resolve in his personal life, and he needed to get to Miami. And so he's there, but we're still in touch. He's hoping to hook up down there and get himself positioned for a big fight. And if he does, then I'll get together with him and we'll work together for a bigger fight. But right now he's got things he needs to take care of in his life. So he's down there. But I'm still in touch with him, and I'm still going to try and help him from a distance and see if I can coordinate some things for him and get him positioned for a last run at maybe a title fight.
Definitely a very down-to-earth guy, really easy to talk to. He was a great interview. I really wasn't expecting much. I never heard of the guy. And we got him on there. But couldn't shut up about you. Like,
Oh, yeah, no, he's a funny guy. He's a funny kid. He's got a lot of experience, and he's a sharp kid. And, I could see him being a good interview for sure.
And you said you got another guy now that you're working with who's 5-0?
Yeah, well, the crazy thing is, when I was talking to you earlier, I was telling you Greg Duncan, who's a super middleweight, kind of a small light heavyweight, a super middleweight, a big puncher, really heavy-handed. And as luck would have it, literally about 2 hours ago, I got a phone call from a matchmaker asking us if we'd be interested in fighting Jeff Lacey next month in Tampa. And he told me, I said, well, my guy's only got 5 fights. And they're, they know your guy, and your guy's a big puncher, and he's got a good reputation, and Jeff is, a little past his best days. So I'm not sure what's going to happen if we're going to get the fight. I'm not really sure, but so we could be matching up with Jeff Lacey next month.
Yeah, with Lacey, I can remember when I first thinking about Martin back in 2006. That was when he was kind of part of his height, and he had that shoulder injury, and he was never the same. So right,
you know what's funny about certain guys? Jeff was a very good fighter, very strong, and everything. But when he fought Calzaghe, I actually was talking to this reporter, and the reporter actually got kind of mad at me because he's a fan of Jeff's, a friend of Jeff. And I told him the very next day, I said, listen, because he was telling me Jeff's the kind of guy, he's going to come back, and he's very determined. And I said, sometimes it doesn't matter. You can control certain things. And sometimes a loss like that could affect the guy permanently. He'll never be the same. And the guy got mad at me. And about a year later, he actually called me, and after Jeff lost his next fight, and the guy actually apologized to me, and he said, wow, he goes, you really kind of called that one on the head. And that was kind of a weird thing. Jeff was never the same after that Calzaghe fight. I think mentally he was probably on such a high going to the fight, and when he lost, it probably stripped something away from him. That's always been my gut feeling about the situation.
Wow, it would be a great name to add to your guys' list of
Oh, yeah.
I guess you got to wait till you pass this prime.
Yeah, sometimes, you got to take what's offered to you. And, like I said, but my guy, he doesn't have much experience, but he had a little over 50 amateur fights. Big knockout puncher. He scored a lot of amateur knockouts, which is rare in amateurs. Even the biggest punchers don't really get that many knockouts. And as a pro, he's 5-0 with 4 knockouts. And his last knockout was a pretty vicious, devastating one punch. One and done. The guy was out for a good minute at least. And I sparred with Craig, so I can attest firsthand. He's got very heavy hands. So he'll, if not with Jeff, with somebody else, he's definitely going to get an opportunity sooner or later.
So you're still in there sparring with these guys. You're training. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, I've done 304 rounds so far this year.
Wow. Well, that's a 90-second warning. It's a great chat with you again, catching up on old times. We didn't even get a chance to talk for a minute here about your career. Usually we talk something about some of your great memories, but.
Well, we had a great talk. That was a cool talk tonight, and I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about my event in Las Vegas, and I'm anticipating a very special night.
Yeah. Definitely looking forward to hearing about it. We'll keep plugging it on the site and keep us in the loop. Let us know what's going on. I know we always see you putting stuff on Facebook. We posted your Facebook link too in the show.
All right.
So you might be getting a few more friend requests.
I hope so. I welcome it. I welcome all the boxing fans to look for me on there.
All right. Well, you have a good night, and great chatting with you again. And we'll definitely hook up at a later point. I'm sure I'll see you at an event probably one of these days. Last time I saw you was at the Battle of the Badges.
Yes, sir. Well, look, I really appreciate you guys having me as usual. Thank you very much.
All right. Sounds great. We'll talk later, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Whoa.
Well, guys, I'm going to log off. I'm going to work on some of my article, and I'll have that sent to you guys tomorrow night.
Awesome.
Cool. Pacquiao 7.
Okay.
Gentlemen.
Okay, guys.
Little news on the table tonight, but we'll pick it up next week. I'll pick it up because I'm just going to be doing it solo and then going right to an interview. So whatever we didn't get on the table here in the notes, we'll get into next week. And that's it. Happy Thanksgiving.